Has Lando Norris missed the best opportunity to get back into the Drivers' Championship? What happened to Oscar Piastri this weekend in Azerbaijan? And is Max Verstappen really in contention for the World Championship? All that and more as we look back at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. This is Inside the Piranha Club. I'm Rebecca Clancy.
And I'm Ben Hunt.
And what a weekend we have had. Oh my goodness, where do we start? Do we have to start with qualifying? We probably should have done a qualifying special, should we?
We could have done. I mean, you know, we probably had time to record it while it was going on. Miles, our producer, could have edited it and we could have uploaded it and it would have been out before the result came out. It was quite funny. I mean, you know, Baku announced a 4-year deal. I didn't expect it to be 4 years before we got qualifying finished.
I knew you'd get that joke in.
I know.
You texted me that joke and I said, where did you steal that from? You're like, no, I made it up.
Come on, give me some credit. I thought it was quite good.
It is a good joke, but
I sent it to my
qualifying, which
friends.
normally takes 60 minutes, took 2 hours.
Yeah, I sent it to my friends and they were like, tweet it. And I don't really tweet so much anymore. And I was half tempted to. I thought maybe it is a good one. But anyway, listeners, let us know.
Chuckle.
Was it good?
Yeah, well, it was a good qualifying session. 60km/h gusts of wind, wreaking havoc, basically, and causing all sorts of incidents. It felt like everybody crashed. No one seemed to be able to keep it straight. And it made for a very mixed up grid.
Yeah, it did. And I think, you know, we spoke about Baku being a circuit that we like because it's a bit unpredictable. And it obviously threw up the... One of the things that always gets me is that we go into it, right, and we always think, oh, it's going to be really exciting on Sunday. And then, you know, something happens in qualifying and we go, okay, cool, yeah, this is going to be really good for Sunday. But Sunday was a little bit of a procession apart from a couple of talking points, which we'll get on to. But all the fun was had on Saturday. So, yeah, plenty to get stuck into.
Right, and let's get stuck in at the start. And I think I have to apologise to Australia and to every Oscar Piastri fan. You did message me, Ben, to say that it's all my fault that Oscar Piastri very uncharacteristically crashed out. He made 3 mistakes on Sunday, or over the course of the weekend, I should say. And yeah, that's my fault. I did predict on Thursday that he was due a DNF or some sort of incident. I didn't quite expect him to crash out under his own steam. But it did. It was on the 3rd corner, I think it was. So the race was barely underway. He jumped the start and then he sort of tried to correct himself, ended up at the back of the field, and then for some reason ended up in the wall. He just looked like he locked up and had an issue with braking. Completely his own fault. And so we were all thinking, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe Norris is going to get in it. So Verstappen qualified on pole. Norris had a shocker of a Saturday and qualified 7th. So we were thinking, well, he's in the McLaren. We know from Friday's long runs that the McLarens are quickest over race pace. And he didn't do anything, did he, Norris? But let's start with Piastri first, because that was not like the Piastri that we have seen this year, who has been cold, calculated, and leading the championship. The gap has been cut to 25 points. Norris only managed to take out 6 points. But a bad weekend from Piastri.
Yeah, I think... yeah, it was. He was in, like you mentioned, and you tempted fate. I think he was inevitable to, you know, have one this season. Maybe that is the one. I think what was quite interesting was his reaction after crashing out of the race, and you know, he sat there and watched it on someone's phone. Who gives them the phone? That was
an amazing image. He couldn't get back straight away to the pits.
No.
And so he was sat with his feet up on the wall of the circuit, watching on someone's phone.
But that's the same as Charles Leclerc a couple of races ago. He was sat with the phone. Now, who's going out there and giving them a phone? Is it a marshal? Is it a fan? Has he got one in his pocket?
Oh, I don't think the engineers would be very happy about that extra weight, would they?
I would imagine that the FIA go a bit nuts. You know, if you can't have piercings, then what would they make of mobile phones in your pocket? Anyway, I don't know where it came from, but he certainly watched.
But it wasn't his. I would be 100% certain that it was not Piastri's.
Anyway, so afterwards, when he was talking to the media, I thought that what was interesting, his demeanour was very relaxed, calm, as you would expect, but he would almost, like, in that time watching the race on the phone, he had already processed it and got over it, And I think that's the difference that we see with Lando Norris. Is sometimes an emotional character and comes out and blurts out, "I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have done that. It's all my fault," etc., etc. I think that Piastri had already processed it by the time he had got back into the paddock, and was already at peace with it. And I think that it was a blip. I think that we will see him back on form in Singapore next out. And I just think that was it. But for me, I thought it was quite telling how he had gone through that process.
But also, he was watching his title rival, I should say, not really make an impact.
Yeah, and I think that he also acknowledged that, didn't he? The damage was done with regards to Lando's hopes on the in the qualifying session, where he didn't get it right. He was asked a couple of times, was this a missed opportunity throughout the weekend, and he kept on saying, no, it's not. They're all missed opportunities. I could have won every weekend, but I haven't. And he kept going back to that default line, which I thought was interesting because it reminded me of the Rosberg 2016, which we have spoke about quite a bit recently, and one race at a time. And he was trotting that out, which was interesting because I spoke again on this earlier when we did the podcast 2 or 3 weeks ago about his change in mentality, and I believe that this is all part of it. He doesn't want to dwell on mistakes and make too much of it, which is kind of why he's probably got this repetitive. Try saying that twice. Try saying it 3 times.
You might want to drink that tea you've got.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so which could account for why he's going down this route of having a stock phrase. But again, contrast that with how Piastri was able to get it out of his system, and I think that's the difference. Yeah, it's
hard to not see it as a missed opportunity, though, isn't it? What is that mug? Is that a Wimbledon FC mug?
Yeah. 88
oh
Cup
my
finals,
goodness me. It is a missed opportunity, isn't it?
Well, yes, ultimately it was, because he could have really, in theory he was challenging, or should have been challenging, for a win. He made hard work of getting past a lot of the other drivers, and yeah, he should have capitalised. And I think that's probably the difference that you see between someone like Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. When the opportunity's there, Verstappen takes it, whereas Lando hasn't really had that same level of consistency or ability to grind the most out of the car that he's been given.
And it felt like McLaren maybe got their strategy wrong because they sent him out on the medium tyres, whereas we saw those teams that chose to start with the hard tyre and go long actually did better with the pit stops. And another slow pit stop for Norris. We have to talk about this. Second race in a row, and that ultimately cost him at least 2 places because he came out behind that Lawson-Tsunoda battle.
Yeah, he did, and that was the difficulty in getting past. And you do wonder whether mistakes are creeping in, or is this just part of the season evening itself out? I think, a lot is obviously now the focus is on McLaren and ensuring that they don't muck it up. I'm sure that they will be fine. Obviously, in the constructors, they're well clear. But I do wonder now for the championship battle, because it was such a convincing performance from Verstappen.
Frightening slow. A grand slam.
Yeah, 6 now. Level with Lewis Hamilton. So, a phenomenal weekend at a track where he, has gone fairly well in the past, but I don't think he was down as a particular favourite. But more importantly, now they've got back-to-back wins. The difficulty is the fact that Singapore's next, one of the tracks that he's yet to win at. So, if he wins in Singapore, then I think that we can definitely say the championship's back on.
I think, well, here's the question. So is Max really in contention for the title? He's currently 44 points behind Lando Norris. And so actually I think there is a possibility that he could finish at least second in the championship if this run of form continues. He's 69 points behind Oscar Piastri. Andreas Stella was asked, the team principal at McLaren, was asked if Max was really in the title fight. And he said a firm yes. Can you write it in capitals? Because it was quoted in capitals, which I thought was quite funny. But they are worried about him. Yeah,
it also takes the pressure off them as well, doesn't it? By saying that.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought that, but then Stella did make the point at the end. He was like, look, the thing you have to remember about this, he's Max Verstappen. And you think, well, yeah, he is one of the greatest drivers ever.
Yeah, and, what goes back to what I was saying a minute ago there about, back-to-back wins. And I think that he has that ability to repeat it week after week, and we saw it in 2023 where he absolutely crushed the end of the season. You know, he was ruthless and chasing every single fastest lap point, and that's a level of mentality that we haven't seen for a very long time in Formula One, if at all. That ability to not only just deliver, but the hunger and desire to do it week after week. And I can very much well see him finishing sort of second in the championship. I think the Piastri gap's just a little too much. It's a shame that we probably might, run out of races. But I think Piastri's probably comfortable. But Lando Norris should be looking over his shoulder.
Yeah, I agree. And actually mentioning 23, Singapore was the only race Red Bull didn't win in 2023. So
and who won it?
Carlos Sainz.
There we are.
I remember it was my first race back from my second maternity leave, and I remember leaving Singapore and I joked, I still haven't seen a Max Verstappen victory this year. So there you go. But who won it last year?
Lando Norris by about 25 years or something, wasn't it? 25 seconds. It was an incredible performance. So, I think he should be watching the video back from last year if he needs a little bit of added motivation. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo's last race as well, 12 months without Danny Ric.
Not that they told us at the time, even though we all knew it was utterly ridiculous, but there we go. Yes, Singapore, I'm sure Lando Norris will be very grateful as having a bit of a break before we go there. And also, I think the other person who'll be very grateful for a break is a very poorly George Russell, who somehow managed to drag that Mercedes into second place. And he did sound terrible.
Is George Russell... this was a question, I'm going to nick this from a WhatsApp group that I'm in. Is George Russell the driver that everyone thinks that Lando is?
Is George Russell the driver... as in George is better than Lando?
Correct.
George has always beaten Lando Norris in every other championship. So George Russell was back-to-back champion in F3 and F2, becoming only the second ever driver to do it. The first being?
F2 and F...
consecutive champion, Charles Leclerc.
Oh, yes, okay. I was thinking of Max for a second, and I realised that he missed a second.
He missed F2.
FP2, yeah. FP2, F2. Come on, Ben.
I know, but showing your age. It's a very interesting question. Lando Norris is a very good driver. I massively rate George Russell as well. He has the record to prove it. He's beaten all of his contemporaries in the lower series. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Mm. I don't know. I do think if George Russell can get the right car, he will be world champion.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas Lando Norris has the right car, and I'm not sure he's going to do it. My money this season is on Oscar Piastri. Yeah,
which is makes sense. The bookmaker's favourite.
Yeah,
he's leading. He's looking good. But your point about Oscar, your point about George is right. And I'm trying to think of the conditions that he always seems to win in. Like Vegas was cold.
That's the car though. It's not him, is
blustery.
it?
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm saying. It kind of suits the Mercedes car, but. The window that they have is limited to cold races, which is a shame.
Unfortunate going forward.
No, but I do believe that. I like George. I know that we talk a lot about George. In our fondness for him, and
we've known him a long time. To be fair,
let's see how it goes.
We're going to get done for British bias now.
It's already in the chat there. So.
There you go. Producer Miles called it out already for you all. I do also want to mention Kimi Antonelli because I thought he had a brilliant weekend after those very scathing words from Toto Wolff, his team principal, after Monza saying how underwhelming he had been. That's Wolff's words. He came in and finished fourth in what I think was a very strong weekend overall.
Yeah, there were moments where it could have flipped the other way, wasn't it? I mean, I think qualifying, was on a nice edge, but everything sort of went well in the end. So, yeah, sort of result that he needed. Big old confidence boost, hopefully for the rest of the season, because it seems a very likeable guy. I mean, they've obviously weighed up what they were going to do for 2026, and they still look like they're going to stick with the current driver pairing, although not yet confirmed. But it would make so much sense to do so.
It would make sense to do so, wouldn't it? And they do also just need to get on with it because they don't have another option. Shall we talk about Ferrari? Because while it was a good weekend for Mercedes, it was a terrible weekend for Ferrari. And I say that fully in the knowledge that Lewis Hamilton topped the timesheets on Friday. He actually came into the weekend quite optimistic. And then it all fell apart. He had his first Q2 run hurt by Charles Leclerc because he spun off. And then he just couldn't put it together. So then he got knocked out in Q2. He started 12th. And then he just couldn't make any inroads. Charles Leclerc crashed. And so he started 10th. Just a really bad weekend. Not good noises coming from the Scuderia. No one seems to be completely convinced about this car. There was a lot of talk about the execution, as in it was the driver's fault this weekend, not the car. That doesn't seem to be that happy a camp at the moment.
No, I was going to say the only silver lining was that they both finished in the points.
Yeah, 8th and 9th though. You're not celebrating that, are you?
No, definitely not. And I think that, that lowly finish as well sort of overshadowed, the team orders and the confusion that they had there about swapping Hamilton and Leclerc around at the end. And I'm still a little bit in the dark as to, what happened.
Did Hamilton just not slow down enough? That's what I couldn't work out.
Yeah.
So during the race, Hamilton said he was quicker and he wanted to go and chase down Norris. So Ferrari, with the tyre advantage, Ferrari said, okay, fine, Leclerc, let Hamilton pass. They did the swap and then it didn't work out. And so Ferrari said on the last lap, switch back positions, and it didn't quite pan out and Hamilton finished ahead of him. Yeah,
I think the gap was too big, wasn't it, when he was slowing down?
They called it too late?
Perhaps. I mean, it, like Leclerc said, his 8th and 9th doesn't really matter. But, it is another disappointing weekend for them. And you do wonder when things are going to pick up again. It seems like the never-ending story at the moment that, it's like disappointment after disappointment.
And they have lost second place in the championship.
Yeah,
which is actually massive because Mercedes, with that strong outing in Baku, they have moved to 290 points. Okay, 4 points, that's it. It's not a lot. We have 7 races still to go. And Red Bull Racing are right on the heels of Ferrari as well, just 14 points back. So it's still pretty close in that fight from second to fourth. But it just kind of highlights how bad things have been for Ferrari lately.
Yeah, they can't. It's just, it feels like they make a little bit of progress and then they go backwards, doesn't it? I think that's the thing. You're looking for a little bit more consistency, which Red Bull are hoping that they've found now with back-to-back wins, and McLaren have had all season. Ferrari haven't had that.
Right, well, let's go to some very good news. And I think everyone was very happy with Carlos Sainz on the podium for Williams. He had at one point looked like he was on pole position. The rain started to fall, but of the ridiculous 6 red flags that we had during qualifying, a record, unfortunately it was not to be. He started second. Russell jumped him through strategy. But a fantastic podium. He said it was his best ever podium. And bearing in mind, I think he won 4 times for Ferrari. But actually he was genuinely over the moon. You saw the celebrations with his team. It was absolutely fantastic to see, and he was a very popular podiums person.
Yeah, it's kind of a redemption, isn't it, for being ousted at Ferrari for Hamilton and getting a podium before Hamilton. It probably meant quite a bit to him, I think.
Yeah, you'd have got good odds on that one, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's we didn't expect that, but I don't know. I think that Williams have been going about their business, quietly, and it's a very happy ship. We was talking about Ferrari not being a cohesive team at the moment. I think for me, one of the most, and I did tweet this, but one of the most impressive things was that at the end of the race, Alex Albon was there with the team celebrating Sainz's podium finish, and I thought, for me, that means so much because it means that they're all together, they're all sharing, working together. Now we know Albon's a nice guy, we know Sainz is a nice guy, and they have a great relationship. And if you ever watch any of the videos that Williams do, then you can see that dynamic coming out. And it just seems like as a team, they're upwardly mobile, and it's encouraging. And I think that you need to have that dynamic between the drivers and the garages if you're going to make progress. So it was really, really good.
Yeah, and Albon, who had a terrible weekend, pretty much from start to finish, lots of mistakes on his part. very unusual for him, actually. And Sainz, who was under a bit of pressure, not had a particularly great season. Albon has been outperforming him, but they are former teammates as well. Remember, they're both from the Red Bull stable. They were teammates at Toro Rosso, as it was in the many incarnations of that team and names of, just pick one, I can't even remember them all. But yeah, I thought it was a really nice move that Albon was there, and I think it's right as well. I think we talk a lot about the culture within McLaren and what Andrea Sella and Zach Brown are doing there. I think James Vowles, the team principal at Williams, has done a fantastic job as well. And I also thought it was very nice that Toto Wolff, his former boss, sent him a little present. So obviously for the benefit of social media, not that I'm a cynic, but actually I did think everyone was genuinely pleased for Williams.
Yeah, indeed. Absolutely.
But I am a cynic. Talking about the Racing Bulls, or Toro Rosso, or whatever name you want to call them, Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
I confess I was gunning for him to get that podium. It wasn't to be, but he did finish fifth, and I thought he was excellent. Amazing defensive drive. He was at the front of a DRS train. Bearing in mind, in that DRS train was a McLaren and a Ferrari. He somehow managed to defend them all off. And there's a part of me that was thinking this morning, recording this on the Monday after Baku, are those seats really just between the four drivers who are currently occupying them? Because if you look at Arvid Lindblad, who is the other driver whose name has been thrown into the stable, he's the young driver as part of the Red Bull programme. He's 7th in F2 at the moment. He's not really lighting that series up.
He made a mistake, didn't he, in Monza as well?
He did, yeah. Would Red Bull just be better off leaving Lindblad where he is? We're starting to see progress. Alan Permain is now in charge of the Racing Bulls. Laurent Mekies is clearly making a difference at Red Bull. 2 victories on the bounce. So don't they just need a bit of consistency, steady the ship? Maybe there's a switch between Hadjar and Tsunoda for that seat, but then Tsunoda finished 6th, and I think he deserves credit for what he's been able to do this weekend. That was his highest finish since he joined Red Bull at the start of the season. So maybe they should be thinking, and this is actually, I said this on our preview pod, they shouldn't be making a decision now. Shouldn't they just wait and give the new team principals time to bed in, get to know the drivers, and just kind of let those 4 be a bit? And actually, it wasn't a great weekend for Hadjar because he finished 4th out of those 4.
4th?
Fourth of the 4 Red Bull drivers.
Boy, I was gonna flip it the other way around. You had 4 Red Bull drivers finishing in the top 10.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
When was the last time that happened? I mean, I do think that we spoke, but I think it is stability and time, and that's what they need to use for the rest of this year to fully assess their driver partnership pairings. Like I said about the Sainz Albon thing, I think dynamic between them is crucial, and just seeing how it all shakes out. And I think that you've got a very strong character in Verstappen, but I think the other guys, they've all got personalities, but I don't think they're going to be causing too many problems. So I think it's quite a nice problem to have. If you've got all these drivers fighting for the top 2 seats, great. That's what the whole ethos of the Red Bull B team was, to have competition and healthy competition for the seats in the top team. So it's working at the moment, but it was only one race. Let's see how we go in Singapore. And
Singapore's a bit of a bogey track for Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We will do a preview pod to Singapore, so we'll leave it for that. But talking of Red Bull, we should talk of the former boss, Christian Horner, who was fired earlier this year, July. It has been announced that he has been now fully released from his contract. He has agreed a financial settlement thought to be in the region of 60 million euros. I say euros because he was paid out of Austria. So that's 52 million sterling, pounds. God, I sound really old when I say it like that, don't I? Not too shabby.
Yeah, he had a long-term deal, didn't he? So
he was through to 2030, wasn't he? So I'm guessing he got all that paid out.
Yeah, maybe 2030, 2031. There was a long-term deal signed, not so long ago, and they obviously have to come to some agreement. And I think the crucial part, yes, the money, but it was also the fact that he's now free to join another team. So could we see that all shake up? Let's see.
From what I understand, he's on gardening leave now, as you sort of say in the UK, which basically means you can't go and work for anyone else. From what I understand, that runs out at the end of this year. So he has the potential to join a team from the start of next year which is the big regulation change. So
Yeah.
he'll be going in cold, as in he won't have done any work. And I say this in inverted quotes if you're watching it on YouTube. But obviously you can work behind the scenes and you can read things that
You're
people
not
send you.
supposed to, but
You're not
yeah.
supposed to. You tell me that Adrian Newey wasn't at a drawing board for his first day at Aston Martin. But I think it's really interesting. So where does he go? Well, all the chatter is about Alpine.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that makes a logical, step, doesn't it? I think all the other team principals are all pretty much, nailed down. I can't really see him wanting anything else. I think that would offer him a really good challenge, a rebuilding process, potential for a, third team ownership role. I don't know. I think that would be pretty good.
here's my
Pretty good
challenge.
for F1.
How do you spend £52 million? Isn't that enough of a challenge? $70 million for our US listeners.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they'll buy some more horses.
Yeah,
They're quite into their
perhaps.
horse racing, aren't they? But that's an enormous sum of money. Do you need to come back and work?
Well, but I don't think he needed to anyway. But I think that there's a passion there, and there's an excitement, and also going out the back door wouldn't have probably sat very well. And I think that he's eager to prove a point, and I think
Or
that
does he use the money to invest in an F1 team? Because that's
well,
what he
that's the
ultimately
thing.
wants. He wants
Yeah,
to
I
own
mean,
a team, doesn't he?
he could come back as I say, like a part owner, like the Toto Wolff situation, where he's a third owner of the Mercedes team. Maybe Christian returns as a part owner of the Alpine team. Who knows? I mean, they desperately need leadership there, don't they? They had a disastrous
yes.
weekend.
Again.
Finished last. A miserable race for Colapinto. Miserable weekend for him and Gasly. So something needs to change there. It's quite sad seeing what's happened with Alpine. I think that 12 months ago when Ollie Oakes was there, and he looked like there was an uptick in results, and I remember speaking to him in Singapore, and everything seemed to be going very well. And sadly, 12 months on, we're looking at a different situation.
Yeah, Gasly and Colapinto both crashed in qualifying on Saturday, and then just a nothing race, really. To be forgiven for even not knowing that they were in the race. Alpine to have Mercedes engines next year.
Yes, I mean, that's obviously one step in the right direction, but I think
I'm all
crucially
meant Horner.
it's crucial.
Horner and Wolf would have to be Bezzies.
That would be interesting. Yeah, never thought about that, but maybe it'd be badged as something else. But I think that the biggest thing is the number 2 driver there. I mean, we know Gasly's signed that long-term deal, but what do they do going forward? There's lots of names in the fold. I think that, again, rather like that situation at Red Bull, they need some stability to move forward. He would offer them that, and obviously be able to sort of galvanise the team and put people in, bring people in, I would imagine, to help them move forward. But really, they just need a solid basis with which to work from.
So Flavio Briatore, I guess you call him the overlord because he's not the team principal. He said that the fight for the second seat is just between Colapinto and their junior driver Paul Aron. So I actually didn't think that was that good an idea. Like, why are these teams making these decisions so early on?
But also, what does that mean for Doohan, who started the season in that seat? I mean, that's pretty brutal, isn't it? Shown the door pretty early on in his F1 career, and obviously there's no way back. So that's sad. Not great.
Yeah, funny one, isn't it? But also there was a bit of so at one point during the race, the Alpines were being held up by Fernando Alonso.
Yes.
And there was a point made about the fact that Briatore is Alonso's manager. And just the conflict of interest in Formula One is slightly ridiculous, isn't it?
What, when you've got
the Aston Martin driver, Alonso?
Yeah, or what do you mean? The Aston Martin driver Alonso also manages the Sauber driver Bortoletto. I mean, where do we draw the line? It just carries on, doesn't it, all the way through? I mean, it is very odd,
Yeah, odd F1.
But that's how it is. I think it's kind of been like that in the past. Odd. But I do think we should talk about Aston Martin, because another poor weekend for them. Alonso
another team you'd be forgiven for not knowing they were in the race.
Yeah, kind of anonymous, weren't they? They didn't really appear at all on our TV screens. Another really poor result. And
Well, actually, the only time they did appear on the screen was when Alonso got done for jumping the start because he followed Piastri off the line, and they ended up finishing. Alonso was 15th and Stroll was 17th.
Yeah. I mean, it's just no good, is it?
Not going anywhere, are they?
96 seconds off the lead, Lance Stroll was.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I suspect they're all focusing on next year.
Well, yeah, we keep hearing that though, don't we? But ultimately, they should still be more competitive. I'm not sure where they are in the Constructors' Championship. We'll have to look that up. They're seventh.
They're only 10 points behind the Racing Bulls on 72.
I mean, it is interesting because sometimes when you have a new factory, it takes a little while for people to get used to it. But that is, very disappointing for the outlay. I would imagine that Lawrence Stroll's not very happy with that, and yes, he's being told that it's all about 2026, but he would have wanted to see a better return this year, no doubt about it.
Producer Miles would like to know why Stroll is still in F1.
Well, this is a good question. We know why. Blood's thicker than water.
Blood's thicker than results. And on that note, that is our roundup of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It was a brilliant weekend. Saturday, carnage. Sunday, not amazing racing, but plenty of talking points still. And as we said earlier, we will be back for Singapore. An excellent race, always throws up something. And the championship fight lives on. So until then, please do rate and review us if you have liked this podcast. If you haven't, then sorry about that. Please don't leave us a review. If you would like to contact us, please do so on Instagram at Inside the Piranha Club. But until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you.